Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, we are continuing our look at some of the best Pokemon in VGC 2017. We are going to be looking at Alolan Marowak. It's been a little while since I did a profile of a Pokemon in VGC 17. We need to get back to it. I did do profiles on the first and second place teams at the World Championships. And I've done a couple of news items about the VGC, but we need to start digging in on a particular Pokemon. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I am going Alolan Marowak. Now, before the World Championships, this was the 14th most popular Pokemon online. Now it's actually the 11th most popular, or at least at the recording of this video. So, Alolan Marowak has grown in popularity, which shouldn't really surprise anyone. It was featured on Ryota Otsuba's World's Winning Team. Yeah, that'll do it. In terms of the stats here, we got HP of 60, which is pretty low, to be honest. Attack of 80, but that gets a lot bigger with Fit Club. More on that in a minute. Defense of 110, that's really quite good. Special attack of 50, which is quite low, but we just use attack, not special attack, and we're fine. And special defense of 80, which is decent, but a bit lower than defense, so we might want to boost that up. Speed of 45 means that it will function very nicely in a Trick Room team, where the fastest Pokemon go last and the slowest Pokemon go first. In terms of natures, 51.5% of these are adamant, which means the attack goes up and the special attack goes down. 24.9% of them are brave, meaning that the attack goes up and the speed goes down. You would use this in a Trick Room set where you want them to be as slow as possible. And 14.7% of them are careful, meaning special defense up, special attack down. We don't mind putting special attack down because it's not a great stat. We're not using it. We want to put speed down in a Trick Room setting, but we want to put special defense up because it's lower than regular defense, and we want to put attack up because we are a physical attacker. In terms of weakness, you are a Ghost Fire Pokemon, so Ghost weakness you get to hit against Ghost and Psychic Pokemon, like Metagross, Mimikyu and Tapu Lele, and you're hitting Fire weakness on Grass, Bug, Steel and Ice Pokemon, like Celesteela, 4 times weakness on Kartana in your face, Metagross, Pheromosa, and Alolan Ninetales. In terms of your weaknesses, you're weak to ground, think Garchomp, Mudsdale, and random Earthquake users, but remember if they use Earthquake and they're not a ground Pokemon, they don't get that same type attack bonus that boosts their attacks by 50%. You're also weak to rock, think Gigalith and Nihilego, and again random rock slide users like Garchomp, but there's no same type attack boost there. You're weak to Ghost, Mimikyu being the most relevant of those, and you're weak to water, think Gyarados, Tapu Fini, and my boy Araquanid. You're also weak to darkness, so think Crocodile, Mandibuzz, etc. Good news is that you are immune to both normal Pokemon, think Snorlax, especially if they're running a set that only uses normal type moves like Return and Facade, because Snorlax could always use some non-normal moves. And it's also immune to fighting type, so something like a Pheromosa trying to use those fighting type moves wouldn't work. In terms of abilities here, there's only really one option. Now, technically there's 3 options, but there's only really one option. 98.8% of these use Lightning Rod. This means that any single target electric moves will be drawn to Marowak, and instead of doing damage will raise special attack. Okay, the raising special attack is kind of irrelevant because you're a physical attacker, but still, your opponent would have to use something like Discharge to hit both Pokemon. Single target electric moves will just go straight to Marowak and do absolutely nothing. My apologies, it's 97.5% Lightning Rod. It is 2.5% Rockhead. The percentages of the natures was also slightly off, but I corrected them on the screen. I think we're okay, ladies and gentlemen. Rockhead is a useful ability. It essentially means that it's protected from recoil damage. Now, one of Alolan Marowak's best attacks here is Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz, very powerful fire move, but you do 1/3 of the damage that you did to the opposing Pokemon to yourself, not if you've got Rockhead. and it does bear mentioning that Rockhead is a hidden ability. The other ability you can have here is Cursed Body, which just doesn't see any play. It means that if you're hit by a damaging move, you have a 30% chance of disabling that move, meaning your opponent can't use it, for the next 4 turns. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it's not something that I can particularly recommend. Nobody uses it. In terms of items, 100% of people use Thick Club. Yeah. That's pretty pronounced. The reason is very simple. It's a held item that only really does anything for Cubone or Marowak, and it doubles your attack stat. So when I said your attack was 80, that was okay. Yeah, everyone's going to be using this with Thick Club, which means your attack is actually 160. That is crazy high. Now, in terms of moves here, 99.9% of players use Flare Blitz here. Flare Blitz is ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. 120 power on a fire physical move, 100 accuracy. There is a 10% chance you also inflict burn, and then you take 1/3 of the damage you did back as self-damage. Okay, that's slightly annoying. That's why some players use Rockhead, but it's worth it because it's such a powerful attack. It is the best fire attack you've got here. 96.3% of players choose to use Shadowbone, a ghost physical move with 85 power and 100 accuracy, and a 20% chance to lower the defense. Quite simply, this is the best ghost move we've got here, bearing in mind we're a physical attacker, so we want to be using physical moves. We see that 88.2% of players use Protect, which just gives you immunity for a turn, and that's just handy. Maybe you've got a partner using Earthquake that would damage you as well, or maybe you just want to buy a turn. Maybe your partner is going to use Trick Room and you need to protect yourself for a turn while they do so. We also see that 45% of players use Bone Meringue, which is a ground physical move with 50 power and only 90 accuracy, but it does hit twice. So if you hit both, essentially think 100 power. That's a pretty good move. It's a nice ground move. And of course, the more types you can hit here, the absolute better it will be. Now, the big change we see since the World Championships is that 28.3% of players are using Brick Break. A move that initially, when I started tracking this, was played by very few Alolan Marowak players. Since it was used by Ryota in the final of the World Championships, shall we say the usage has increased. This is a fighting physical move, 75 power, 100 accuracy, although you're not a fighting type, so you don't get same type attack bonus, but it breaks barriers like Aurora Veil, which we saw used to great effect in the World Championship finals. And a move that I am particularly fond of is Perish Song, used by 13.3% of players. All Pokemon that hear the song that are on the field when you use the move faint in 3 turns unless they switch out. Wait till your opponent has 2 Pokemon left and can't switch out, and this basically wins you the game, as long as you've got more than 2 Pokemon left. Now, Alolan Marowak was quite popular early on in the season, really started to slow down as the season went on. In Worlds, there were 15 in Day 2, and only 1 in Top 8. At Liverpool Regional, shortly before Worlds, there were none in Top 8. At North American Internationals, there were 3 in the Top 36. And that was 23rd, 26th and 29th. It really was Worlds, ladies and gentlemen, that showed everybody. But there are a couple of sets that I can show you. We saw that the 10th place player in London, now London was quite early on in the season, but you know, it still counts. Played Alolan Marowak with Fit Club and Lightning Rod, obviously. Brave Nature, so really showing it to be a bit of a Trick Room Pokemon here. And it had a 0 speed IV to go along with that. Played with Shadowbone, Flare Blitz, Bone Meringue and Protect, which at least early on was very much the standard set for Alolan Marowak. 252 EVs into HP, because I said at the beginning HP is low. 252 into attack, because you want to be hitting as hard as you can. Fit Club does that, as does Brave. And just the last 4 into special defense, because it's the stat that really worries you other than HP, so you might as well chuck them down into there as well. We can also see that the 24th place player in London has a very similar set: Protect, Shadow Bone, Flare Blitz and Boomerang. Again, we've got Fit Club and Lightning Rod. Again, we've got 252 HPs, but we see a slight change here. This is an adamant nature, putting attack up and special attack down. So you boost the attack using the nature, which means we put fewer EVs into attack, and then we can put a few EVs into speed as well. This is very much not a Trick Room Pokemon. You're not giving it the maximum speed you can, but you're trying to outspeed similar speed Pokemon that may otherwise be put into a Trick Room set. I.e., if you're outside a Trick Room, you're going to be getting a speed boost on most people. But really here, ladies and gentlemen, the set we need to look at is Ryota Otsuba's Marowak, with which he won the World Championships. Fit Club Lightning Rod should not surprise you at this stage. We see a careful Alolan Marowak here. Special defense up, special attack down. Not a Trick Room Pokemon, and honestly here, like we said, special defense is quite low. We need to give it a boost. You do that with the nature. We again see a 252 HP boost, and then we're boosting most special defense and speed. Little bit into attack, tiny bit into defense, but it's special defense and speed that are otherwise boosted here. He's trying to be a little bit bulkier, and special defense needs a boost more than regular defense, and that speed boost again. Similar speed mons you will be going away from here. The difference really is in the moves. Flare Blitz and Shadow Bone and Protect are fine, but we see Brick Break here, particularly to counter Pokemon like Alolan Ninetales using Aurora Veil. Now, I did go into Ryota's team in a lot more detail when I broke down his team after the World Championships. I'll put a link to that in the description, so go and check it out. In terms of partners here, we see Tapu Fini. And of course, you've got your Lightning Rod ability to stop Tapu Fini being hit by those electric type attacks, but Tapu Fini being part fairy will also cover your dark weakness quite nicely. We see a Tapu Koko who covers your water weakness by bringing out the electric type attacks, and of course, if Tapu Koko uses Discharge, he won't hurt your Alolan Marowak because of the Lightning Rod ability. We see Celesteela. Again, Celesteela has a weakness to electric, and you're helping that with your Lightning Rod ability, but Celesteela also helps to cover your rock weakness, being a steel type. Kartana is another steel type, which helps to cover your rock weakness quite nicely. We see Porygon 2 as a partner, but of course you're very slow, so Porygon 2 is a great partner for Trick Room sets. And of course Snorlax is another Trick Room Pokemon, so fits in there quite nicely. We do also see a Garchomp here who covers your rock weakness, being a ground Pokemon, which is very nice. And no one should be surprised to see Crocodile there, given that was also on Ryota's team. In fact, so were Celesteela, Tapu Koko, Tapu Fini. It's only Whimsicott that doesn't make the top 10 partners from Ryota's team. Read into that what you will. But ladies and gentlemen, I would like to know what you think about Alolan Marowak. Let me know in the comments. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where the live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you want more VG videos, let me know, because I plan on doing them. And if you're only here for TCG, that's fine. I still make a lot of TCG videos. But the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.